Yo, how's it going? All right, let's get down to it. Let's talk about language, this mysterious thing that we're all dealing with one way or another. So, to be a bit more precise, where I want to bring this is understanding the nitty gritty technical applications of language, the assumptions that language often brings, and the trend that you've been noticing in this aspect of generalized language, a repetition of a very generalized language. So, and at the same time, I'm picking off my pet peeves. But you'll see why. You'll see why. It's not trying to be nitpicky, but it's basically understanding the subtle subconscious influences of language based on the assumptions being brought with a specific sentence structure. It's not that complex. It feels complex at first, but you'll see. So, you've probably noticed this tendency, whether we're talking about human species or human evolution or relating to the current, let's say the wildfires, okay? California wildfires. So this dates this video already. We're January 2025. The Californian wildfires have continued. So you'll see people posting saying that, and again, pay attention to the sentence structure. We are not very good inhabitants of this planet. The we already englobes everyone. It's assuming an englobing of everyone. It's assuming with that englobing that everyone is cautious and aware of their actions. Because if you're going to wrap everyone up, you're going to assume that they are actually understanding or even conscious and aware of the topic that you are bringing up, of the action that you're bringing up. You're also including yourself in that with that giant we. And some people are going to say, oh, I'm just saying, oh, I'm just saying. And it's like, no, 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 no. You're not just saying. You're straight up giving commands to your subconscious. So, or another one, and this goes for whoever is in the black community, okay? When referring back to slavery, or various things around that time, you will often hear individuals saying that we have faced this, which is not logical, because you'd be at least 100-year-old or then some. And it's like, oh, it's fine, a little nuance. No, 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 no. Watch out. Watch out. Fucking watch out. Like, tell you, watch out. Because already, as soon as you accept that assumption, that connection in your subconscious mind, boom, the feeling hits you as if you were to have lived that specific event, which you did not live. Okay? You did not physically live it. You may have heard stories from people. You may have seen movies. Okay? Those are living via proxy. But let's be real, grounded in logic for now, okay? There's a big difference between living via proxy, whether it's a movie or storytelling, or actually living it. There's a big difference. It's kind of like saying, okay, I'm watching a movie or I'm watching a UFC event, okay? Living that fight by proxy. But I'm not getting hurt. Not physically, not that violently, not brutally, not directly. Okay? If I'm going to tell you or talk to you about that fight, as I am doing the storytelling, it's kind of like I'm inducting you, I am getting you to feel the story so that you feel it via proxy, but you are not living it. Okay? Now, living via proxy or experiencing via proxy is a fucking double-edged sword. Because depending on how cautious and aware you are of that process, you can ingest whatever crap that's out there. Whether it's social media, whether it's certain kind of movie. Remember what was said about the repetition entering the subconscious and then being normalized. This is what you can tap into by living certain things via proxies. Yet, you want to be cautious of it, or else it can easily go in your disadvantage based on the trends that have to be followed for the narratives to be lucrative, moneymakers, as well as also the limitations of our narrative devices. You know, movies, video games all have a limitation of expression and experiencing. It is normal. Or else we'd have to be plugged in and live a movie, which that would be an interesting experience, but you can do it without plugging in and jeopardizing your fucking brain or consciousness. Yeah, that's another discussion that could be interesting to open up. I ain't talking about you, Musk. Fuck that device. Who knows? Okay, for paraplegic individuals and people who don't necessarily have functions of their limbs, that's going to be a very interesting device. I'm just not really down with an individual that doesn't necessarily have a conscious understanding of consciousness, soul, spirit, and the dynamics between that body and mind, to make a device that would potentially jeopardize that. I'm not really too keen on that. But I do like the progress aspect. Hey, if you can make a dream sharing machine, that would be very interesting. But please do not plug it in the back. Don't jeopardize that shit. Anyhow, still, double-edged sword. Big double-edged sword. Because you don't necessarily want to have your consciousness ingesting and repeating things that are bringing you more division within yourself and division within other individuals. So circling right back to this aspect of, we have faced slavery. No, you didn't. Or else you'd be 100-year-old. Some people are going to bring the aspect of DNA, and it's like, sorry, that goes by proxy. You're not physically living the event. This is really to ground it, okay? This is going to make a big difference between something you actually live and something that you live by proxy. You're then able to understand the different kind of effects, and you have two relativity points to play with. Okay? It makes a very big difference. When they started to do that reverse racism with social justice, saying that we should feel bad because of what we've done. No, stop. You didn't do anything. Your ancestors did. It does not automatically go up to you. And even if somebody's going to bring up that metaphysical aspect, because there is a clause in metaphysics where you are all and all is one. Please stop looking at it from the surface level interpretation of it, because we now understand even more about it. It's kind of like adding a bit more complexity that is then going to become normal or simplicity or the next surface level of it per se. Meaning, you already all and all is within. Yes, but you still have to have a separation between your current physical experience and your aspect of connecting with all. It's welcome to complexity. We'll try to make it more grounded, and I do need to find ways to phrase it better, because it can be grounded and understood in a much easier way, but you don't necessarily want to fall back into this aspect similar to Catholicism or religion, where you're going to use that notion to flagellate yourself, you know, by saying, oh, since I'm also the presidents that are doing these shady stuff below. I'm also the whalers. I'm also the people doing, whoa. Wait. Calm down. Okay? Because, as I've mentioned before, we all come from that same 0 point. We all come from that same energy, thus we all have the same 0 point. Okay? There are some exceptions, but Again, press and replay that tape. We're all born without words, definitions, or meaning, thus no intellectual or emotional attachment to any of it. Okay? So that's our common base point. All the same in that aspect. Okay? Then, paradoxically, we're all different because we all have different contexts, parents, initial environment, initial language, initial set of datas that is brought onto us. Okay? Yet that's also part of the paradox that makes us the same because we all have different contexts, thus all have differences to add to the whole. Okay? The other level and layer of that is understanding that past the atom, it's all different densities of vibration. So yes, in that technicality, you are all. Even the air in between, it's not nothing, as what's been shown about space. It's not empty. It's still filled with stuff, okay? That's our interconnection. And on that technicality, yes, you are all. But specific word, on that technicality, that doesn't mean that you are to intake everyone's attitude as your own and everyone's polarity of actions, whether it's positive / unity, expanding, growing, or negative / reduction, separation, division. Okay? It doesn't mean that you're intaking and that you have to intake everyone's different polarities. Okay? It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that you are tied to that. It means that you have the potential to tap into that because different individuals, different situations in time, and different events are giving you a look at a potential vibe, attitude, way of being, and perception, which is part of the all. And again, all perceptions are valid, yet it does not condone the aspect of division and such, okay? And it doesn't mean it's an automatic association with yourself. Do not fall into that mistake because this is how a lot of individuals are led to whipping themselves into martyrdom. That's one of the biggest, you could say, I don't know how to say this without being very aggressive and potentially toxic. So, is the biggest no-no I see with Hindu religions. You are living this because of something that you have done in your past life. Look at the language. If it's a past life, it is not on a technicality you. It is and it is not. Welcome to the paradox. Non-duality is a head scratcher for many, and I feel you. I get you. I understand you on that aspect because this is tapping into a complexity of language that we are not brought onto. Again, remember, if you had, okay, just imagine this. Think of it this way, okay? If you had your TV characters talking the way I do, your movie would expand to 4 hours. Because to keep you in a grounded, current, up-to-date understanding of physical reality, which includes metaphysics, welcome to quantum physics, I would have to just unpack that box. Initially it feels complex, yet just like with starting out equation, you're now getting into algebra, in a sense. You're not being bombarded with calculus, but let's say your algebra will become your new normal. It'll become your base. And then calculus is going to be what's next. It's kind of like that, complexity-wise. Maybe I have another analogy. Oh, okay, wait, yeah, there we go. It's the difference between going from Super Nintendo to PlayStation 3. Initially, Super Nintendo or Nintendo was the common denominator of what a game was. So, We got used to those mechanics. We got used to those storytelling to the degree that they were. And this was widespread because everyone else was copying or being very similar. Okay? Then evolution started happening. And we got to more and more technicality and more complexity. We started to play online. We started to play multiplayer, but with multi-taps as well before the online. But then downloadable content, then extensions, then Easter eggs became much more complex. And then that became a bit of the norm until the next thing. It's similar to that. It's just that language-wise, due to the limitation of our narrative devices, media, narrative structure, and what makes a movie sell, we have been kept mentally in this Nintendo era of language, per se. Sort of. I would say more we were kept in N64. I would say Nintendo era of language would be 1940s in a sense, because there was still a lot of assumption and stereotyping and language related to that prevalent, but now there's much less. We're just still kept at a very surface level of understanding of these things. So now to reel it again right back to the aspect of we have done that to them, or we have faced that. Getting into complexity, you didn't do shit. You can deep dive into, if you want to say DNA or past life, still opening that box up for whoever is open to that. Live through that experience and heal it internally. Okay? This may sound out there for individual. This is literally opening up the metaphysical box, but there could be a way to ground this with science, per se, for those whose brain are itching for that. If you still feel guilt because of your use of language, or the use of language that was thrown to you in that regards, and you want to heal up from that guilt, have those visualization. Go in the mind space, and then have yourself, give yourself a little new game plus or a change of event in visualization. Seeing that the brain does not make the difference between what's physical and what's not, you can connect the dots to dreams or to that lemon exercise that was done a couple of videos ago. Again, it's a simple exercise. Close your eyes, see a lemon, try your best to see a lemon or to sense it, whether it's with your smell, sound, or touch in the mind space. Cut it in half, take a part, bring that half close to you, smell it, see if you can sense the citrus, that aspect of that citrus smell, okay? And then, to push it even further, eat it, bite it, and start noticing that your mouth is starting to salivate, okay? If you do it very focused, not offhand, I'm still listening to this video. No, you pause now and you do it. You want to test it out now, right? So, yeah, you pause now. You do it. You do it now. Come on. But upon you sensing that, you can connect the dot back to dreams. In dreams, you're efficiently living events, but you're experiencing events that are not happening on your physical body right now. And at times you do get reactions, Anyone, I have this personal experience, and I do want to see if anyone else has had that as often as I do. Sometimes I kind of lie down on the bed, I'm about to go to sleep, I have certain visualizations coming up, but there's often times where I kind of trip. As if I'm running in the street and I'm tripping, or just walking and tripping. And my body will convulse. Just whoa, as if I wanted to catch myself from falling, because the sensation of tripping was so real, my physical body just goes, whoa, what's going on? Trying to catch. I want to know how many of you have had similar things, whether it's tripping or something else. Anyhow, that's another confirmation that you can play with these kind of exercises and then have your physical body generate a reaction depending on what you perceive with the inner eye. Okay? And this is a very powerful tool because, similar to TV shows, you can live things via proxy. So if you're in need of healing or closure, this can really help you. But I've kind of went way outside of the initial premise of this video, which was to talk about the power of language. But hey, little exercise that's really fun to play with, and I'll try to remember to make a video dedicated to certain practices that could be made, or I'm still working on the player's guide, so those will definitely be added in there. It's really fun. There's many ways to expand that. Back to language. So don't necessarily fall for this language that we're being brought. You know, we have done this, we have faced this, we have lived this. When in reality, on the physical space, you didn't do any of it, you didn't live any of it, and you weren't necessarily conscious of any of it. These are very, I don't necessarily want to, fuck it, I'll balance it out as I go. You could see it as nefarious tactics from individuals wanting more and more control over group collective subconscious, which is the same as propaganda that was made in the past. You are this country. You are this ethnicity. You are this religion. So you must stand and defend. Can you see how silly it is? It's been used in the past so many times. Ridiculous. But it's easy. It's really easy to grasp and wrap people into that when you don't bring the technicality of it. Okay? And people feel emotionally tied and reactive to that upon having enough ingestion into that subconscious. Meaning, upon having enough ingestion of that language in the subconscious and then associating themselves with boxed labels. Boxed labels. It's so evil. But at the same time, maybe it is not consciously done with nefarious intent. Maybe it could simply be an indirect, unfortunate result, not consequence, result of our fast tracking of inventions and faster access to media and social media, which then doubles up the parroting of language within the within the limitations of media fiction. Meaning, media fiction and all of that, whether it's video game, movie, TV show, any of that, even this, okay, there's a limitation of expression, okay? As I mentioned, I have to go one sentence after another, but at times I do want to express two concepts that are needed to be felt at the exact same time. But the physical apparatus can only do one sentence after another, right? This is why a picture is worth 1,000 words. You can set up a table to express multiple concepts or multiple feelings, to then feel them all at the same time. But we do not have devices nor a narrative lingo to express that. You know, it's the limitation of our physical apparatus, while our brain can process so much more at the same time. Remember, your brain thinks... Some people took offense when I said speed of light, and whatever. It's that fast, and then faster every time you practice visualization. Or every time you kind of visualization, and then the no-thought meditation. You get kind of two relativity point that are expanding more and more. Because with visualization, you get more and more adept at following the story that you create or you explore at that speed. While in the no thought visualization and meditation, You're basically seeing how easy, how you're taking a pulse on your state of rest for thoughts, ideas, and mental processing. So again, two very interesting and important relativity point, but your brain will continuously increase its processing speed when you bounce back and forth between the two. In a regular practice, you don't force yourself. So your brain's able to do that. It's just that we're not brought to practicing this in society nor in school because we have to focus on the limited physical apparatus and we get trained to focus on that. So it's a very, very interesting time to be able to, because we're more and more realizing and understanding these concepts and how it kind of brings a direct division. Because lo and behold, again, going back to the aspect that we're not born with these words, definitions, and terminologies, and that stuff changes every decade. Understand that your definition of a word or a specific concept could be different than another individual. Thus, conversations really help us because you can then ask the other person, hey, what do you mean by that? What do you mean and what do you feel when you express that? Why? Best questions for refinement. But with text message, what we got suckered into, without knowing the limitations of it, I'm using literally aggressive terminology. Sorry. We didn't get suckered into it. It's not this whole nefarious plan. Both perceptions and possibilities are there. It's just fun to bounce between the two. And also, in cases where it is planned, Zucky, Facebook, Social Dilemma documentary, in cases where it is planned, bring out those jabs. Just, it's like, what, you gotta do this unconsensually? You ain't even gonna inform people that it's gonna affect them psychologically when you put that system and you knew about that? Bam! It's like, no wonder you fuckers are being assaulted in the streets. Not that I would want more of that to happen, but I can understand the frustration of individuals who have been manipulated without their consent, learning about that and learning that it was done deliberately. I can understand that. Those who know me know I have a very big bitterness towards religion and what it has done to individual and the division that it has done. Not just Catholicism, I'll even take shots at Hinduism and the Krishnas in that way. Whoever keeps people in a one box, and that is the only box, if you stray for that box, you are damned and doomed, and the Almighty is against you, which is completely illogical. F them. Completely F them. You do get compassion, because to a certain degree, I don't like the term useful idiots. I don't like the term puppets. Somebody find me a better term for that. But I understand that these individuals were manipulated to continue spreading this mental virus. They don't know any better. As soon as that lockbox, just like the previous video about the generational lockboxes, mental traps, as soon as that box is in from a young age or with enough conviction, you're not necessarily going to look at the other boxes. All right? And this is where, again, beware of these kind of languages brought that way. All right? There is the understanding, again, and I do want to balance this out, of not knowing what you don't know at a time that you don't know. So, again, unfortunate consequences / results of our acceleration of communications, which then accelerated the parroting, the repeating, the mimicking via osmosis or immersion in environment. It just fast-tracked that, unfortunately. But fortunately, the fact that it fast-tracked, it is much easier to start seeing the disconnects, the effect that it has on the individual. So, kind of sucks because it's like, well, you're kind of being a non-consensual test subject or stat, but at the same time you're not. It just happens. Welcome to complexity, non-duality. Woo! So, ultimately, I've gotten so big into the we type of thing, but it's one of those major notches. Um, Another one that could be interesting to look into: do or do not. There is no try. There's no try. You just do it. See, every time you do, you're adding another iteration of that activity. You're expanding it. You're refining what you desire as an outcome. You're shaping and molding the outcome as you go. This construct of everything has a very fixed outcome doesn't necessarily work to that degree. Um, it's really contextual. It's not like the school mindset that we had where there's got to be a fixed answer. There's a fixed generalized answer or a fixed generalized result. It doesn't work that way. You will bring your own variation of that result, but there is no exactitude of mimicking. Okay? Not when you tackle on practical stuff. Art, as an example. You could take a tutorial to learn how to draw the figure, the basic skeleton, the action lines and such. But it'll never be the exact same image and the exact same brushstroke or pencil stroke as a tutorial. You have a different hand, you have a different motion, you have a different type of paper, you have a different hell. You can go to that extreme, go to the logical extreme, and you'll see how it balances back. Different air, different inspirational music while you're doing this activity, different prior drawing inspiration. Okay? All of that counts. It'll always be different. It's your own variation. So what you're trying to get is not an exact copy. What you're trying to get is an understanding of the principle and then being able to actively use it in different drawing situations and different poses. So you're constantly doing, you're just reaching different iteration of what you want to bring out, which is the understanding of that concept. And you are continuously refining it as you keep doing. Thus, there is no try. If you stop, then you do not. There is also no giving up. Because if you feel like you want to switch activity or you want to head to something else, you're just rerouting your focus. It's okay to change. It's okay to change because that's growth. And some of those dots that you will connect in that different subject will then potentially apply to your art or other subject that you're coming back to. It's all interconnected because it's all in you. Okay? So, tricky, right? Getting into some complexity. All gets easier. All gets easier. It's all about repeating your understanding of that complexity as well as adding content that has that kind of complexity in your mental diet throughout your day. So you splice this kind of content from various other places. I'm not saying you must only follow my channel. No. Get different perspectives and point of views that are similar. Or, how do I say this? Get different expressions of that complexity from different channels and different discussions. I think that's what would say it best. So that you can have, okay, this is one format of that complexity, but you can look into various other formats of that complexity. And the key is basically to add those different formats into your mental diet while you can still go around and eat some of that McDonald's thinking. I say it cheekfully, okay? I say it cheekfully, not venomously. It's just kind of funny to say. But you can go back to the surface level. Again, all those are relativity points, so that it gets easier to cautiously surf through it and then tap into your potential, or still tap into your real potential without being held back by only ingesting the surface level type of content or type of language or type of perception of reality. Okay? Whew, complex. It's complex. It really it is, but it gets easier and easier as you are practicing, you know? And it just gets easier and easier as you're practicing. So, you know, in between your hours of video games or movies, you splice some of this material at least once per day, so that you are still keeping a conscious threshold of that complexity, but you're not completely immersing yourself and cutting off the other aspect. You still want to have that back and forth. Again, infinity symbol, you know? You still want to have that back and forth, because the more relativity points that you get, the easier it is to shape and mold afterward. And this also then starts applying to various other areas of your life. But that would be something else for another topic. So, what else about language? I would, yeah, it's basically watch out for the subtle assumptions in language, and also watch what's been casualized. I've noticed, especially in Caribbean community, parents from a prior generation will often still call you a child, even if you've grown up. And at times for individuals, it can be devaluing. It can be an aspect of kind of regressing them mentally, okay? Be aware of these things, and then allow yourself to change the inner dialogue. Again, all of this can be done in the mind's eye, easily, with practice. But just be bold. Brings us to a next point. Instead of saying this is easy or hard, and I've mentioned it before, it's getting easier. Easier and easier. How would it feel if it was effortless for me to tap into this? How would it feel if I had more ease doing this? Okay? Asking questions like this can spark the subconscious to give you that answer, which is another really big reason to watch your mental diet. Depending on the kind of questions, your subconscious will give you an automatic answer. And even if you find your conscious mind trying to block away that answer, you can trick it by kind of going, if I knew what the answer was, what would it be? Let it. Just let it. It's literally kind of giving your subconscious this little push, so that you spot it and you just kind of test it out. Take it with a grain of salt, but just keep pulling that wire. And you start noticing the interconnections afterwards. So, be aware. What am I doing? Okay, I was kind of wondering, what's this soundtrack? I don't remember that. Place my VR playlist for some technical conversations. So, yeah, be aware of that, how that can influence language, and notice the assumptions. Ask yourself if it's truly valid for you or not, so that you don't necessarily fall into those we trap, you know, or various other little subconscious traps that can be, that, you know, you can fall into without consciously knowing it. The main key is, like, literally take the time to break down your language and the assumptions that come with your language. This also, I'm not entirely sure if that would go into being in the present. Maybe I'm looking at another duality of being present, because similar to the visualization, to the full-blown inner talk meditation versus no talk, similar to that, I'm wondering if having a session and a moment of describing how you perceive, kind of like with Day's Revision. Whoever understand or have heard about Neville Goddard, at the end of the day, revising your day, seeing it like a movie but rolling it backward. So an exercise like that, but doing it like describing your day. Again, this is to be practiced with balance. So it's not to say do it every moment, every second, every hour. No. Observe how you describe the story of your day and your life, or any event that kind of gets you to react. And then start analyzing the words, the assumptions. Where did you get that language? How often have you been brought that perception? Pull that wire. Do it from a neutral point of view without judgment or condemnation to the best that you can. Or if it happens, bounce back and balance it back, because you don't want to judge and criticize the judgment and criticizing. Again, there's some stuff we didn't necessarily consciously adhere to or accept that was sprung on to us. So be gentle with yourself and be gentle with your subconscious, but fine comb it. And then change it. You're at the helms. You got this. This is not to invalidate the current style of perception. This is simply understanding that it is one out of many. And if you're a pro player of life, why you know multi-class, noob? No, but it is something to kind of play with. Multi-classing is going to help you. Getting different perspective and perceptions, different kind of language, different kind of narrative and linguistic structure that does bring different kind of assumptions or perceptions will help you in life. Because again, you shape and mold it after a while. You have your own unique variation based on the blend and amalgamation of everything that you collected. So all of this can be done softly. It just has to be done cautiously. Which means, you do pay attention to what you ingest. You pay attention to that mental diet. I'm being very harsh when I say, I'm being kind of harsh when I say, watch out for the McDonald of thinking, the mental McDonald's. Because there are limitations to the medium. I'm aware of that. So I want to bring it more in a cheeky way, yet. And also, I do understand it's based on relativity. So at one point, this was a 5-course meal. What we were getting from video games, what we were getting from movies, that was like a 5-star, fine dining, okay? At one point. But we've expanded, we've evolved it faster, and we do see the pitfalls of remaining stagnant on an idea of a 5-course mental meal within the limited dialogue that we are being brought. So it's being compassionate and understanding what was done for its time was valid for its time. Let's not go into individuals that want to cancel. It's, again, negative polarity, segregation, separation, and removal. Whoops. Ooh. You can see how that cancel, fell into the same trap as religious individuals that would praise for peace and helping other individual by separating them from all other material and saying that this is the one and only, you only have to follow this. If you don't follow this or act this way, then you are bad. That's separation. That's division. That's regression. That's being boxed in. You see how subtle that is? And how that was done both on the religious and spiritual aspect and on the social aspect. It's fucking hilarious once you see it. It's like, it's both funny and not funny. But you gotta take the piss out of it. Have fun with the absurdity, understanding the mechanic, feeling compassion for the individuals that were affected by that imbalance, yet not condoning the imbalance, and then effectively working on reversing that imbalance. Not by conflict and opposition and cancel, by informing and being that change, which then gives people an opportunity to perceive that vibe, to perceive that possibility of being, and then integrate it in their own, or at their own time, in their own due process. You see? Complexity, right? Get simple. You'll see. Always ask yourself, would I want to be judged and criticized this very same way from an individual that does not have my context the same way I do not have their context? The mirror is the ultimate form of balance. Ultimate. Maybe ayahuasca too, but who knows? But the mirror, having that exercise as a principle and practicing it whenever you can, when you're doing revisions, if you get triggered by an event, how do I perceive this? Oh, I'm putting blame and fault on another. Would I want someone else to do the exact same thing to me, fully understanding that they don't have my context as I don't have their context? Yes or no? Voila, right? Because when the habits that we had that was really prevalent before, which you still see prevalent in media, that's, again, mental McDonald of dialogue, is the aspect of judging and condemning without context. And then to see that if I'm going to have compassion for the context, that is condoning the action, that is making excuses. You heard that phrasing from prior generations, right? That's making excuses. It's like, wait. Not really. It is understanding what led to a current situation. It is getting the step to reproduce to get to that current point. Understanding what was direct intention versus subconscious perception leading to action, which then leads to understanding, not condoning, and then changing. Takes time to change, doesn't it? Sort of. This, again, with relativity point, this was just 3 minutes or maybe 2 minutes of trying to wrap up an understanding. Compared to individuals that would repeat the same loop for a certain amount of years, this was nothing. This was fast. Okay? But some individuals might see it as long due to maybe society's aspect of just quick, rush. Quick, rush. It's got to be instant. It's got to be a 1-minute TikTok that'll tell me the entirety of my life right now. So, relativity. Gotta love it. Anyhow. Woo, that was fun. Now I gotta have some rest because my brain is... Your brain as well. And that's normal. We're actively getting our brain to make new connections, new neural connections. Even explaining it leads to that too. So I thank you. Take your time, be at ease, don't judge yourself. Just it's getting easier and easier. Have some fun looking at different contents as well, and having your own way of interpreting this, your own phrasing of this, which helps you again as you're saying it with your own voice, boom, in the subconscious at a much faster rate than ingesting it externally. So have fun with that. You got this. All right. I'm trying to see next time. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out what's going to happen next time. But this was very important, the power of language. There would be more examples, and I guess I'll post them as I find them. Or as I remember them. Because trapping language has become a bit of a... has easier thing to notice nowadays. And we're much more open to discussing about this, so this is a fun time. Alright? Stay awesome, play with this, have fun with your revision, and yeah, be in control of your mental diet. It's in the game, but not in your wallet. Have fun, guys. Stay awesome.